So this is obviously the picture of Fire Station 1. It's getting tired. It's might be past tired. It's probably exhausted. And so what we did is we worked with the town to get a facility study done. And to look at, the purpose of that study basically was to look at existing conditions, investigate desired programming, basically program that means what is the fire department doing? What should it be offering? What services should it add? What services should it subtract? Find a suitable location. Are we going to build on its existing location or look at multiple places? And I think Chris and Rob will go into that in more granular detail. And then provide the town with options and estimated cost. So when we start looking at, the fire department itself, the original construction was 1948. And it actually was a firehouse there before that. And then this one was built, and then major construction in 1975. It's about 14,000 square feet roughly. The current building has 7+ firefighters in it and 4 administrative staff. When it was built, it had 6. We also have a mechanics bay downstairs. We recently basically put some Band-Aids on it to make it livable for our staff, with some minor interior renovations at the lower level and the main level. But it's still undersized, outdated, and definitely in a state of disrepair. The building is a multi-story building with maintenance and storage facility in the basement, administrative offices, apparatus bays, living facilities on the ground level, dormitories where our firefighters, change and live basically. It has very limited storage space. You're going to see that from a couple of the pictures, and the existing building does not meet our operational needs. Time and constant use have not been friendly to our apparatus bay. You're going to see that in true living color. It's actually being held up by a steel support system so that our apparatus doesn't end up in the basement. So just quickly out of the gate, we're looking at, the drainage systems on the floors, then the apparatus bay. We've had these, and Jimmy's done a great job. They come and they snake them out, and, days later, they're backed up again, flooding the floors. This is that steel structure that I was just talking about that's actually holding up the front half of our apparatus bay. This is a picture from the basement level from our mechanics bay. The recent study that I had done wants us to add about $1 million more worth of this bracing going towards the back. If we did that as a temporary fix, it would actually negate our entire maintenance bay, and we wouldn't be able to store a third of our apparatus that are currently being stored down there. We've actually started to move apparatus out of there.
Chief, if I may.
Yep.
When you talk of temporary solutions, this lally column and steel beam structure that you're seeing here was a temporary solution 10 years ago, was it not?
Yeah, so temporary, I guess, could be, depends on temporary in your time frame. But yes, it was installed, I think, back in 2013 when they did the initial fix, why they were looking at other options, and nothing has happened with that. So our roofing system over the apparatus bay leaks, and we've had it sealed several times. We've had new roofing membrane put down. That tarp lays there because when it rains hard, we actually have to spread it out over what's our clean room. It's not very clean if water's leaking through it. So we have that leaking roof. We had a major problem with our roofing system above the dormitories. We're going to get to that in a minute. This is just a picture of the bay, and then our storage for apparatus, and also our gear. Technically, all by the new standards, all this gear needs to be in its own storage area to keep the building safe and our firefighters safe. This is the heating and ventilation system in that bay. The fan on your left basically moves air around. That's not code compliant anymore. The heater down here is actually fed off the heating system that heats the rest of the building, and the mechanics bays tend to be cold. And so that, impacts our apparatus and the ability to store certain pieces of apparatus downstairs. This is the floor in our basement. That is starting to spall and break up in many areas. As you can see, there's rebar showing, which shouldn't show. Then here's more spalling of the concrete in the ceiling system. We ended up having on the far right-hand side is a heating and ventilation system that no longer works. We had to actually decommission that because we were having issues with not being able to clean it, and the air quality in the building was bad. We've replaced the majority of that heating, that forced air system, with split units throughout the building. The problem with that is every time you add a split unit, it requires the use of electricity. And our building, we're going to get to this a little bit further, but our building can't be upgraded anymore with the electrical phasing and everything that goes into that. So that's become an issue. That leak that was in the dormitory. So this picture on the left is actually in our dorms. And this was caused by water. We have now since actually encapsulated this and reframed the walls to basically bury this behind it. We have air purification systems throughout the building to keep our firefighters safe. There were several issues prior to my arrival in 2017 where we were having some breathing issues with our firefighters due to the climate inside the firehouse. Here's a picture of an antiquated electrical panel, which is, these are actually on a recall. And we can't do anything with these. If we touch them to repair them, they actually have to be replaced. And there's nothing out there that matches this type of technology. And it's definitely undersized for the programming that we currently do in that station. This is our generator. That definitely needs replacing, and it's not protected for sound. So, our neighbors, when it kicks on every Wednesday or when it kicks on an emergency, can definitely hear that we're running our generator. So when it comes to programming and what we do, this is an example of a makeshift conference room. It's actually jammed into the same room that stores all our EMS supplies. And as you can see in the picture on the right-hand side, that room blends into office space. So my EMS coordinator sits in that first grouping, and our fire prevention officer sits in the second grouping. The people come in and try to conduct business. It's just not very efficient at all. If we're having a meeting and our paramedics need to come in to swap out supplies, they feel like they're stepping on people in the meeting. And, depending upon what we're talking about, maybe you don't want certain things to be heard by others. So there's just no room for us to do what we need to do in the sense of programming. The picture on the left here is a picture of the captain's desk. The picture on the right is actually a firefighter adjacent to in the same room. So the captain has no place to meet with their firefighters to mentor, coach, discipline, God forbid, if we have to, because we just don't have the room. So we jam as much programming into the space that we have, and it's definitely not efficient. Again, this is a picture on the left of the living space for the firefighters. We're jamming 7 firefighters into this small, what basically, if you look at where the chairs are, in front of the chairs is actually the dining area. They have a table in there, so we just jam them all into this small space. We have the living quarters. This is just a quick shot of the men's bathroom. So with our bathrooms, we basically have 2 bathrooms in the living quarters. One's a female bathroom dedicated to our female firefighters, but we only have 2 showers in the entire building. So after a fire, it takes us hours to get our people back into ready status because they all need to take showers after a fire. We only have 3 toilets up in that area. Then we have 2 single-use toilets downstairs in the admin area. So we've definitely outgrown this building and its capacity.